Advanced Math final review. Today we're working on Unit 9. Okay, so taking a look at Unit 9, going, and I am ready. Number 1? Kept going. Okay. 7. 1 and 7, we're good? Or do 1 and 7 and see if there's any more? Okay. Number 1, it's a division problem. I need you guys to stop the talking. If you do not have any questions on what I'm going over, you should be doing your Unit 11, which is tonight's assignment. All right. It is x to the 4th minus 16 divided by x squared plus 3x plus 1. Okay. Do you see how it jumps? And we've talked about this before, from x to the 4th to the 16th without any x cubed or x squared or x. That means there's going to be a lot of things that don't line up. We've done them before, or some of your teachers may have done this last year, x to the 4th plus 0x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 16, and then did long division. Do you want me to do it this way and just know things are not going to line up, or do it this way so that things do line up? Well, this one here? Okay. This is the way we did it in class. I never did it this way with you, but some of your teachers may have last year. Okay, so she said this way, and we know how to start it. X squared times what is x to the 4th? X squared. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. Do we all agree? And then we distribute x squared times 3x is plus 3 what? X to the what? Cubed to the 3rd, and then plus what? X squared. Okay, now we subtract, and when I subtract, I distribute the negative, and it goes to all of these, correct? Okay, so now we go through what should always happen. Yes. Okay. I have an x cubed, an x squared, and a 16. Are any of these like terms? No. So the best I can do is just line them up in order. Negative 3x cubed minus x squared, and then minus the 16. And then we start all over. X squared times what is negative 3x to the 3rd power? Negative 3x. Do you guys all agree with him? And then you distribute. Negative 3x times x is negative 3x times x squared is negative 3x cubed. Negative 3x times positive 3x is negative what? We're multiplying. Negative 9 what? X squared. And then negative 3x and 1 is negative 3x. All right. Subtract, which means I have to change all my signs because I distribute the negative, plus, plus, plus. And should the first one always cross out? Okay, are these two like terms? Yes, what's negative 1x squared plus positive 9x squared? 8x squared. Are these two like terms? Nope, there's no like terms, so the best I can do is just expand it out, plus 3x minus 16 in order. And then we start again. X squared times what is 8x squared? X squared times what is 8x squared? 8. Distribute, what does that give me? 8x squared plus what? And then plus 8. Subtract, so we distribute our negative. Minus, minus, minus. And once again, should that first set always cross out? Yes? Are these two like terms, 3x and negative 24x? Yeah? When you add them together, what do you get? What's negative? Let's put your phones away, guys. What's positive 3 plus negative 24? X, and then negative 16 and negative 8 is negative 24. And can I go any further? No, x squared times nothing, unless I'm using negative exponents, is going to give me negative 21x. So this is my remainder. So plus negative 21x minus 24 all over the x squared plus 3x plus 1. And that there is your answer. Can anybody check the answers in the back and verify? Yes, does it look right? Okay. Questions? Anybody feel like, okay, I couldn't remember, but now that I've seen it, it brings it all back and I'm good? Yes, Andrew? Oh, are you agreeing? Yes? Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, so we feel better? Good. Make sure you go through, we'll be posting these, and you can go through and rewatch. The other two should be online already. It is? Okay, good.
Well, I saw that Unit 8 was.
Yeah, they should have both been there. Okay, number 7. Write the equation of a 4th degree polynomial function with roots 2/3 and a multiplicity of 2 and 5 minus root 3 and a y-intercept of 66. Okay. What did it say the degree was? 4th? Okay, so this has a multiplicity of 2. So how would I write that? Y equals, there's going to be an A because I have my y-intercept to plug in. Do you guys remember how to write this instead of x minus 2/3? 2x minus 3. Can you set that equal to 0 and see if that's going to give you 2/3? 3x minus 2. Do you guys agree? You add the 2, divide the 3, would you end up with positive 2/3? Okay, and because it has the multiplicity of 2, what do I put as its power? Squared. Okay, here, I don't know what that is, but I know when I solve this, I get 5 minus root 3 as an answer. Anyone remember what to do? Set it equal to x. We set this right here equal to x. Do you guys remember that? X equals, now if you just put 5 minus root 3, it's going to work. Should you remember it's plus or minus? Yes. Okay. We want to get the radical by itself so we can get rid of it by squaring both sides. What do I do first? Move the 5, subtract the 5. X minus 5 equals negative root 3. What do I do to both sides? I could divide the negative and square, but when I square it, is it going to get rid of that negative anyway? Yes? All right, so x minus 5 squared is not x squared minus 25. What is it? X squared minus 10x plus 25 equals a negative times a negative is positive, and root 3 times root 3 is what? 3. Subtract the 3. X squared minus 10x plus what? Plus 22? Right, because we're subtracting. What happened to that negative? Good question. What happened to the negative? It's because it's squared, yes. So this here is negative root 3 times negative root 3. And what happens to the negatives? They cancel out, and you have root 9, which equals positive 3. Okay. Now, when we did this unit way back when, I told you many times kids are like, oh, I'm going to factor this. Oh, it doesn't factor. I'm going to use quadratic formula. If you do that, what ends up happening? You end up right back where you started. They gave you the solution. If you try to use quadratic here or complete the square, it's going to take you right back to where you started. This is what was missing. This goes right there. So that is x squared minus 10x plus 22. If I were to try to solve this, I'd end up with this as a solution, which makes sense because they're giving us that that is a solution. What is the degree here if that is 2 and that is 2? 4. And did it say it was a degree 4? All right, how do I use this in my final part of the answer? What is this as an ordered pair? 66, 0 or 0, 66? All right, so we plug in what for y? And for a, I don't know a. And then 3 times 0 is 0 minus 2 squared. 0 minus 10 plus 22. Do you guys see how I got the negative 2 here and the 22 there? 66 equals a. What's 4 times 22? 4 times 22 is 88. And then divide and reduce. All right, what does a equal? Okay, do we agree at the least divides by 11? What's 66 divided by 11? 6, okay, 6 over 8, which reduces to, divided by 2, 3 over what, guys? 4. Okay, y equals 3/4, 3x minus 2, quantity squared, and then the x squared minus 10x plus 22. Again, if you have no questions, guys, you should be working. It's not free time. You should be working on the next unit or whatever units you've not yet completed. Put your phones away, please. And also remember, if you're stuck on any of this stuff, all the old notes are still online from all the units. So you can still go back to Unit 9 and watch one of the lessons if needed. All right, questions? Any other questions from Unit 9? Yes?
How do you handle the zeros on 8?
On number 8? You see how it doesn't say, it doesn't give you any point or intercept, in which case you don't find A. It would look like that without an A value. You only have to find A if they give you a point or
No, I was asking
an intercept.
zeros when you have 2 plus 5.
So 2 plus or minus 5?
Yes.
And is it plus or minus 3?
Yes. You guys want to do that one you said? Okay, what number was that? 8. Okay. Write the equation of a 4th degree polynomial function that has real coefficients and zeros of 2 plus I and negative 3i. Now it says a 4th degree polynomial, but it only gave us 2 solutions. Why is that? Both of them are plus or minus. Conjugate root theorem. This is plus or minus. This is plus or minus. So we set x equal. We're going to set 2 separate ones. Now, if you didn't do plus or minus and you just did do plus I, would it still come out the same? Yes, if you put plus or minus, it's still going to work. All right, what do I do first over here? Subtract the 2. I'm going to leave the plus or minus in there just so, in case any of you do it, it doesn't confuse you. What do I do to both sides? X minus 2 times x minus 2 is x squared minus 4x plus, okay, here's the tricky part. A positive times a positive or a negative times a negative is positive. So is this going to end up, ignoring the I piece, is that going to end up positive?
Yeah.
Positive I to what power? Second, do you agree it's positive I squared? Yes, because it's squared. I times I is I squared. You do need to remember what I squared equals. You learned that back in Math 2. It doesn't equal 1, it equals negative 1. All right, so I have x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals negative 1. What do I do with that negative 1? add it over. X squared minus 4x plus 5 equals 0. As tempting as it is to solve this, do I want to solve it? No, because you're going to end up right back where you started. That's the solved piece of it. We worked backwards to figure what this term was. All right, next one, x equals what? Plus or minus 3i. There's nothing to add or subtract, so I'm going to go straight to doing what to both sides? Squaring. X squared equals, what happens to the plus or minus when I square it? It's gone. And then I have 3i times 3i, which is 9i what? Squared. And what's 9i squared become? Negative 9. What do I do with it? Add it over. As tempting as it is to solve, and oh, subtract 9, square root both sides, would you end up back here, plus or minus 3i? Yeah. All right. So these two are the two factors. And so they're going to be in double bubbles. Well, let me show you what it's going to look like. Y equals x squared minus 4x plus 5. It does not factor. And then x squared plus 9, which does not factor. What is the degree of this polynomial? 4. And is that what they told us it should be? Yes. Make sense? Yes.
What about the A?
They didn't give us any intercept. Who asked that, by the way? Good job. They didn't. If they don't give you a point on the graph or an intercept on the graph, you don't look for the A. Only if they give you a point or a y-intercept, which is a point in disguise on the graph. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. Any others from Unit 9 or whatever? I'm sorry, Unit. What unit are we on? Is it 9? Any other questions from Unit 9? One of the graphing ones? Like which one? Oh, 10 through 13 section?
One of them.
One of them. And what was your question?
What do you do for number 5? You don't have to do it like. How do I do it? What's product of linear factors? Is that where you?
What did you mean? We don't have to do it.
No, I didn't say that. I said how do you do it?
Okay. Sorry.
You don't have to do it.
Oh, okay. But talk about it. So what number was that?
Number
5. And Bianca said 10, any one of the 10 through 14. Do any of you have a preference on which one I graph from 10 through 14? Take a look. 13 or 14 because they're not in factored form? Okay. Do we care? Pick one. 13. Okay. Number 5. Express the function, I'm going to at least talk about it, equals x to the 5th minus 4x to the 4th plus 3x cubed as a product of linear factors. Also list the zeros of p with their multiplicity. As a product of linear factors means factored form. So what's the first thing I can factor out here? I can factor out an x cubed, leaving behind x squared minus what? 4x plus, and can I still factor? Minus what? 1 and, does that work? And that is a product of linear factors. And I think it's also right at zeros and their multiplicity. What's this first zero going to give me? X cubed equals 0 gives me what? 0. And what's the multiplicity? 3. What's this one going to give me? 1. Multiplicity is 1. I don't have to label that. And what about the last one? 3. And what's the multiplicity? 1. And I don't have to label that. How many actual solutions did I come up with, or how many zeros? Why is there only 3 if the degree is 5? Because this one has a multiplicity of 3. 3, 4, 5. Make sense? Okay, 13. y equals 2x to the fourth minus x cubed minus 11x squared minus 11x minus 3. All right, sketch the graph for each of the following functions. Okay. My first thought is to factor, but it doesn't look like this factors. Can any of you guys, I'm going to give you my next thought after I give you guys a second to think about what, first, if it's factorable, second, if not, what else can we do?
Yeah, grouping.
Factor by grouping?
No.
Okay, no. Okay, why no? Why? Somebody said no. Why no? You're right. Why not?
Because you can factor like the last part.
Because there's too many terms. Factor by grouping is 4 terms, like a 2, 2, a 1, 3, or a 3, 1. How many terms do I have here? 5. Okay, so if we can't do factor by grouping and I don't have a GCF, put your phones away, please. Your phones are not going to help you come your test day, final day. Any other thoughts on how to find roots? We did have other methods. Okay, I'll give you a hint, synthetic division, but we need numbers to plug in for synthetic division. How do I?
No, I don't want to do that.
By putting like the Q of P.
Good job. P over Q. P over Q. Factors of your last term divided by factors of your first term. Luckily, they are both prime. What are factors of 3? 1 and 3. What are factors of 2? So plus or minus 1 comma 3, because 1 3 over 1 is just 1 3, and then 1 3 over what? 2. So 1 3 1 half 3 halves. That's not really a whole lot of numbers to have to check. What? Make it that easy, like that small? Maybe. Plus minus I chart, she said we can do that to figure out. Now, this is not necessary, this plus minus I, but if there is no negatives, it may help. Okay, how many sign changes do I have here? 1. And 1 minus 2 is negative, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then you do the negative. I'm going to call it f of negative x. 2x to the fourth, positive or negative? 2x to the fourth minus negative x cubed becomes what? Positive, right? Because negative x cubed stays negative. Minus 11, and I plug in a negative x squared. Is that going to change or stay? Negative 11x squared, right? Because that squared is going to undo that negative. And that negative is going to cancel out with that negative. And that minus 3 is going to stay. How many sign changes?
1, 2, 3.
Is there 3? 3 or 4?
3.
Okay, that one doesn't count. 1, 2, 3. So 3, and then you subtract or 1. I'm not going to worry about imaginaries right now because I know for sure I cannot cancel, I cannot cross out all the positives or all the negatives. Do you agree? All right, so start making guesses. 3, positive 3. Okay, fourth, third, second, first, none. I'm going to cross it out so it doesn't confuse me. Are all of my powers there? Okay, so give me the numbers. 2, what's the next one?
1.
Negative 1.
Negative 11.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And do you guys remember how to do this? Drop, multiply, add,
5.
multiply, add.
12.
She guessed it. She just said 3. Now, does she pull 3 randomly, or does she pull it from this list right here?
It's one of those.
Yeah, it has to come from that list.
Whoever pulled that.
Whoever pulled that, was that a good job? Okay, so they've
Thank you.
finished it already. All right, So, Andrew, does it make sense on where she got the 3 from? All right, now could she have picked 1 or anyone else have picked 1 or -1 or -3? Yes. All right, so continuing, what does this give me? 12, and then this is 1, positive 3, and that is 0. Is this a solution? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to get it down to how many? 3. Do I start from the original set or from this one?
This one.
Okay, and you guess other numbers. Plug in positive 3, plug in -3, because 3 could work twice.
So wait, now that we have only,
You didn't know try it?
there's only 1 positive, so now the rest have to be negative.
Oh, good observation. Oh, you're good. Did you hear her?
Ooh, you're good.
She said there's only 1 positive, which means our other guesses should be negative. So don't waste your time with +1, +3. So -1, -3, -1/2, or -3/2. -1 works?
Oh, yeah.
All right, good job. Try it and then see if you guys can graph it from there. All right. Anyone verify 1 did work? Oh, -1. Thank you. 2, -2. What does that give me? 3, -3. What does that give me? 1, -1. And is that 0? Okay. Does anybody remember what I do here?
Now you go 2x squared,
2x squared,
3x,
3x.
1 plus 1, and then little or the quadratic equation.
The quadratic or factor. She's right. Quadratic or factor. Does it factor? I think it does. 2x. If you're like, oh, I don't like factoring, I'd rather just use quadratic. Is that okay? Yes. 2x into x, and then plus 1 and 1 is all I can pick. Does that work?
Yes.
1 and 2 is 3. So what are my other 2 solutions? -1/2 and -1. Okay. So,
So it's 3 and 1.
no, because we still have to graph it.
So it's negative 1 the multiplicity of
Okay, so let's write that down. She said that means -1 with the multiplicity of 2. Would you guys agree with that? Right there and there. Yes? -1/2, and what's the other one?
-3. Or positive.
+3. 4th degree, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that sound right? That means none were imaginary. Okay, so now we're ready to graph. Oh, before I do graph, I have to find my intercepts. I just found my x-intercepts. How do I find the y-intercept? I set what equal to 0? Come on, guys, y-intercept. How do I find it? X equal to 0. Now the easiest, Anna,
I know, I'm just.
okay. You come up to the original. Good thing I crossed out that blue one, otherwise I would have used it. Come to the original and plug in 0 for all your x's. That should be super easy. 0, 0, 0, 0. What's your final answer? Can everyone see that it's -3? Without any work, can you just say, oh, -3? Because you could see all those are going to be zeros. Okay, so I have my x-intercepts, my y-intercepts. What's the one other thing I have to do before I graph?
Slope.
Not slope, but on the kind of the right track. Like how do
Whether
I,
it's positive or negative, right? Like if it goes up this way or if it's
like high, low, low,
High,
high?
low, low.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
End behavior is what we had called it. Okay, so what's the degree of this original polynomial? 4. That's even. It means it's either high, high, or
high or low.
low, low. It's same, high, high, or low, low. Which one is it? Can you guys tell me why? Because it is a positive. Do you agree there's a lot in this problem? Which means this is all stuff you should know. And if you don't remember, go back to your notes, go back to the video notes online. It's there. It's all there. You need to know it.
Is the final all multiple choice?
The final is all multiple choice.
Oh, really? Okay.
I write that one.
Dirty?
So there should be extra credit.
Extra credit? No. But we give everyone bonus. Like everyone gets the extra credit.
Oh.
Oh, thank you. I like that.
All right. Are we ready?
If we come in for extra help,
No.
bonus.
What was that?
If we come in
No.
Shows that we put effort.
Okay, guys.
I think
So,
5 hours should be sufficient as far as you should look into that in the future.
all right.
I know it's too late now, but for future students, it should probably be lab hours extra credit.
5 hours extra credit?
Lab hours.
Oh, lab hours.
Because you probably have labs.
All right. Guys, -1, -1/2, and 1, 2, +3. Okay, so you guys said hi, and what do we know if this is a multiplicity of 2? What's going to happen right here at the -1? Bounce. Will that be the only place that it bounces? Yes, these others are crosses. So it comes down, it bounces, comes back up, crosses. Now, if it comes down and I need to hit this one here, the only place to cross is on the negative side. Does it make sense that the y-intercept's -3? Yes, and then we swing way over yonder there. Are there any other intercepts pulling me down, or do I go up forever now? Up forever. Oh, wrong one. That is +3 and not drawn to scale. Obviously, that is -3. Should have dipped that down a little bit more.
That's
A
a lot of work.
lot of work. All right. Questions? So what did you have to know about this to do this problem? In behavior, the hi, how to find your y-intercepts making x equal to 0, and how to find your x-intercepts by there was a few things we did here. We did our p over q, we did our plus minus I, and then we did our synthetic. A lot involved. So this was a good one. Any other questions on Unit 9 before we move on to Unit 10? Okay, Unit 10. Were there questions from Unit 10? Oh, before I do go over Unit 10, do you guys all remember how to do these limit problems?
No.
To be honest, no. Actually,
I'm gonna be real.
Okay, if it's, okay, infinity are the easy ones. When it's infinity, and we may have to end with this unit, when it's infinity, what shortcut do we use? Do you guys remember? That was part of it. It was either top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same. It's in your notes. If you look it up in your notes, it's there. Top heavy, bottom heavy, the same. One of them is 0, one of them is D and E, and one of them was the leading coefficients. Okay, look at your notes. It's in there. All right. Did you find it?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what objective it is?
It's 10.2.
10, what is it?
It's 10.2.
10.2 is what we are told. 10.2, so you guys can check.
Oh yeah, I got it.
You got it?
Top heavy is DNE, bottom heavy is 0. It's the same degree as leading.
Thank you. And there it is. They're right, it's 10.2, it's right here. Top heavy, D and E, bottom heavy, 0, same degree, leading coefficients. Okay, look in your notes, it's there. If you don't have your notes, then you have to go back online and watch it. Okay, so that's when when it's approaching infinity. All right, what if it's not approaching infinity and it's approaching a number? When you can, what should you do with the number when you can? Just plug it in. On this one down here, on number 1, can you just plug in -3? 2 times -3 plus 7 divided by 3. Yes, and you're good. When you can plug it in, plug it in. On number 2, what happens when you plug it in?
There's a 0 on the bottom.
Is that okay when there's a 0 at the bottom?
No.
No. Kids often say, oh, D and E. That's not what that means. If you end up plugging it in and getting a 0 at the bottom, what do you have to do with this first? Factor. And again, we're on Unit 10 now. I should have stated that.
We should have started a new video.
I should have.
You can slow it
It's
around.
fine.
I'll just title it 9 and 10. Okay. All right. All right. You guys said factor, right? So x plus 2, at least I hope that's what you guys did. You guys say that?
Yeah.
Factor. And then the top is x plus and x minus, and what is it factor to? Plus 4 minus 2. And does anything reduce? Leaving me with x plus 4 over x plus 2. Now what can I do?
Plug it in.
Plug it in. And that's all you do. Plug in the 2 for the x and the x, giving 2 plus 4 over 2 plus 2. And what is that? 6 over 4, which I heard is 3 over 2. Now, the same, that's what you're going to do on this one as well. If you plug in 4 and you get 0, you're going to have to factor, reduce, and then plug in. Number 3, the limit as x approaches 4 for x cubed minus 64 over 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Yes. Did anybody plug in 4? Did it give you 0 at the bottom? Anybody try it? It did? Okay. So factor. Now she said SOAP, correct? Do you guys agree this is cube factoring?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
You learned cube factoring last year. What is A in this problem? X?
Bottom doesn't get 0.
It doesn't?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I messed up.
It's okay.
If the bottom doesn't get zero, can you still factor?
You can, but plugging in, it's up to you. It does or not? Okay. They're saying yes, it does. Let me just plug it in really quick. And she is correct, it does. Both of them were correct. Okay. Yes, you were right.
Tanner was wrong.
All right.
Yeah.
So, guys,
Wrong, everyone.
guys, listening. Okay, A is x, what is b? Remember we do this, what to the third and what to the third? Is 4 to the third 64. And same, this is minus. Before I do the opposite, always positive. If this is a, this is b, who remembers what this first one is? A squared, which is x squared. Middle is ab, which is 4x, and end is b squared. Good job, which is 16. Same, what's the next one? Opposite, always positive. And then factor here, 2x and x. I'm going to go with 4 and 1 because I can't use 2 and 2. That'll give me a GCF. 8, 1. Okay, so it looks like it's going to work. What are my signs? This one's plus and this one's minus. Negative 8, positive 1. Does it work? And what reduces? Leaving behind x squared plus 4x plus 16 over 2x plus 1. And now what can you do? Plug in the 4. Now remember, this cube factoring we've done before, but it's been a while, so you will have to remember how to go through and do your cube factoring. All right. You guys can work that out on your own. Any others on this first page? This one here, 1 through 6. On 4, 5, and 6, can you use the shortcut that we reviewed earlier? Yes, top heavy, bottom heavy, same. All right, flip over to the next page. Maybe talk about at least one between 7 through 15. How about 7 through 12, because we may not have time for a graphing one. 7 through 12, no questions? 12? All right. Number 12, f of x equals 2x squared minus 5x minus 3, and then 49 minus x squared. And it asks us to find the Vaha Sa. I'm going to factor just to see if, well, I'm going to have to factor eventually anyway. 7 minus x, 7 plus x, and I wrote that down wrong. Seven minus x, 7 plus x. Does this top here factor? 2x, x. I'm going to put the 3 here and the 1 there. 6 take away 1. Which one's negative? Does that look right then? Negative 6, positive 1 to give me the negative 5. Does anything reduce? Yes or no? Va, ha, sa. Remember, the only thing you find before reducing anyway is the domain. And they didn't ask for domain, so if it could have reduced, should I reduce right off? Yes, and then find the Vaha Sa. How do we find the vertical? What makes the bottom 0? Okay, so what are my two asymptotes? X cannot equal, or x equals 7, and x equals what? Okay, so what makes the denominator 0 are your verticals. Horizontal. We take the limit as x approaches infinity. Is this top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same? Same degree. And if it's the same degree, top and bottom, we take the leading, and be careful, what's the leading coefficient at the top? It's not 49 at the bottom. What's the leading coefficient at the bottom? Which means it's y equals, which means slant is none. Will you ever have horizontal and slant at the same time? No, because you only have slant when it is what type? Top heavy. And if it's top heavy, what happens to the horizontal? There's none. Or D and E. What do you, if there were slant, does anybody remember what to do? Long division with no remainder. This is in your notes as well. If you go through and you look at your notes in Unit 10, when it comes to the graphing piece, it is explained. I'm going to put it up. It's lesson 10.3. Can I move this out of the way really quick? It's right there. How to find vertical asymptotes, how to find horizontal asymptotes. I don't have slant on this particular page because it was a different lesson, but it's in your notes. Everybody's got it? Oh, guys, on number 10, I was hoping one like that came up. Can anybody at least head and reduce? Can you guys do that quickly? Don't have to write it down. Factor in your head and reduce. What ends up happening? Is there any x in the denominator? And if there's no x in the denominator, what happens to all of them? None, 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 all the way down. Did everybody hear that? Because there's no x in the denominator. It's a linear graph. If there's no x in your denominator, all of your asymptotes are what?
0, none.
None, not 0, be careful, none. None, none, and none. And that's when there's, what happens? When there's no what in the denominator? No x's, no variables in the denominator.